All right, welcome everybody to the 2.7 system demo. Let's see, the first presenter is Jakob. So I will let you present and I'll let you share your screen.
Okay, hello everyone. I'll be presenting a few changes that are part of 2.7 update for the API mediation layer. So first set of changes is focusing on keyrings. We are now, at least as the API mediation layer, not whole server side, but as the API mediation layer supporting all the formats that are valid for the Java 11. So self-keyring JC, and self-keyring hybrid. We also support now the 2 slashes as well as 4 slashes when using the name of self-keyring, at least again in the API mediation layer. The reason why we used to have 4 slashes was because of Apache Tomcat that expected this format. And as a simplification for people using keyring and certain ZOS Java version, we now provide the ZOS with the password, even if no password is provided, because that's what the ZOS Java actually expects. And if we don't provide it, it just won't work in certain versions. So this is first set of fixes. You can see here the specific issues that were fixed. And the second part are connections, or are linked to connections. So first thing is that we are limiting the communication between the discovery services in the HA mode when the certificates are incorrectly set up. So unlike now, where you will get a communication every second, you will get a communication only once every 30 seconds with the prolonging interval. Apart from that, we fixed an issue with the WebSocket connections, where in certain circumstances and in some amount of WebSocket connections, it was possible to create an out-of-memory error. It shouldn't be possible anymore, and at least in the typical scenario, it's not. And the last part is another round of figuring out what's creating close wait status on the ports and connections opened by API mediation layer. And in this case, we are what we changed on top of all the previous changes is that we are regularly cleaning the connection pool to prevent the close wait status, and it seems that it helped with another set of issues. And that's all from me. So let's see whether we already have Andrea. Okay, Andrea is restarting his computer. He's not here. So maybe can we move to the next person and then go back to him, Nick?
Yes. So let's see. Yeah. Next presenter, well, actually it doesn't say who the name is. It would be the ZOF, so it's either Sean or Joe. Do we have Sean on?
No.
And Joe? No, I don't see Joe on either. Okay, well, let's skip those two. Let's see, move on to the CLI. Do we have Andrew?
Hello.
Hi, Andrew. Okay, let me make you share. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
All right, let me just share my screen really quickly. Great. Good morning, everyone. I'm Andrew from the CLI squad. I wanted to demonstrate 2 of our newest enhancements for the CLI. The first one is an environment variable file, and the second enhancement is a enhancement on downloading spool output to allow users to download the output in binary and record format. So starting out, I'm going to demonstrate the environment variable file. This was a request from a customer that is useful in particular environments where users are unable to modify their environment variables. Some sites are quite locked down and users just aren't able to modify those. So we've created a way that allows users to specify environment variables specifically to the CLI that doesn't modify the operation of other programs by defining those variables. We've created a new file called .zowe.env.json that can be placed in either the user's home directory or their CLI home directory specified by an environment variable. And we created this file so that it also supports comments. So if a user would like to change variables on the fly, they don't have to delete what they already have in there. They can go ahead and just comment it out and then put in a new value. So to demonstrate this, I'm just going to run a quick demo script and just explain things as they occur. So right now I'm going to be demonstrating specifically defining the log level for Zowe CLI. Typically, we operate in a warn mode. So if the user issues commands, the only things that are logged are CLI warnings. So to create the log file, I just quickly ran a Zowe files view USS file command. And that initiated the connection to the mainframe to view what was stored in that USS file. Now, if we examine the CLI logs, we see that it is just warning us that we don't have any settings for the log level. Those are the only warnings that the CLI encountered because it was able to successfully download and view this file. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to modify the environment file here. So as you can see, I'm placing it in my user home directory at home awharn.zowe.env.json. And I'm quickly just going to specify both of the imperative and CLI log environment variables in this file. So I'm going to set them both to debug. This is normally what we would have people do if they wanted to create an issue on the CLI and post it to GitHub. These logs definitely help, particularly on the debug log level. So I'm going to go ahead and save that file and run the same command again. Once again, you can see that it has successfully downloaded that USS file and shown me the contents. But now when I look at the log, it is showing me more debug information so that I can go ahead and try and find what problem a user might be experiencing. It steps through the entirety of the load process so that we can see that everything loaded correctly, all the plugins loaded, and we got a valid command. And finally, what it tried to send to the mainframe and the profile that it compiled from all the available information that the user has provided. So as you can see, this file is able to modify specifically the environment variables that are used by Node and the CLI without impacting any of the other files or operations or programs running on this system. I do want to note that you don't need to just specify these log levels. You can also redefine the plugins directory, the daemon directory, CLI home, or other Node.js specific environment variables such as force color to force it into simple black and white mode. There are a few caveats to this. If you're using the daemon, if you change this file, you need to restart the daemon, otherwise the changes will not take effect. And if you specify an environment variable that is also in your environment, so say somehow you can specify environment variables on the command line and you specify it in both the command line and this file, the file will tend to override what is in the command line. However, there are certain situations where it may not be respected. So we have documented that if a user is going to be specifying an environment variable in this file, we request that they only specify it in the file or in the environment, not both. Are there any questions for this enhancement?
Hey, Andrew, it's Joe. I have a question. Great job. It looks really good. I saw the location of the file, and it was like in your home directory, .zowe. I'm wondering, is there a shortcut way, just perhaps using a Zowe command to say, I don't know, Zowe echo log path or something like that, to just within within imperative itself to have it just echo back where that is. That's going to be platform neutral.
We do have an API that is specified that will echo back to you where that file should be. But we do not have a CLI command that will specify where that file is. We did implement this file specifically for environments where they do not have access to, in a lot of cases, just set environment variables. So we figured the home directory would be a pretty good option, but we have not implemented any way to try and modify that file yet. This is very much a something that we can improve on if there are enough people who would like to see an enhancement to perform that action. And I would suggest if a lot of people would like that feature, to create an issue and the team will triage and implement it accordingly.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. I didn't want to. It's a great enhancement. It's definitely not glass half empty for me. It's really good to see the progress. Thanks.
Yep.
Joe, I'll just mention, you did use the phrase, platform agnostic. It will go to your home directory on all the different platforms. Granted, your home directory is different on the different platforms, but it is cross-platform compatible.
Yeah, thanks, Dean. Yeah, it's just that what I love about whenever I show the CLI to customers is that it's, it prompts you when you miss arguments off parameters. You can do the -h to get specific help text echoed, the --HW, which is a phenomenal. So it's very nice that it has a really nice, facade and usability to basically encapsulate all of the correct syntax. So it's just a general thing. Whenever I see going to raw commands, I think maybe there's something cute where we could make it more intuitive. But I understand why you didn't do it this time around. Thanks, Dean. Thanks, Andrew.
All right. If there are no other questions about this enhancement, I'm going to move forward to the second demonstration. Our second enhancement here was to implement flags to download spool output in both binary and record format. This was a feature that was requested by a plugin developer for the Zowe Explorer. And the Zowe Explorer requested our team to move forward with implementing this feature in our APIs. So we also moved forward and created this as a command line argument for the existing job output download commands. So I'm going to go ahead and start my next demo here. So I'm going to start my demo script. What I'm demonstrating to you right now, I currently have a couple files on the temporary file system of my demo system. The first file here in message.txt is in EBCDIC. So when I download the file, you can see that it is converted from EBCDIC to ASCII. And now when I download the second file, I have specified that I have not tried to download it as a binary file. The mainframe believes it to be an EBCDIC, but it is actually an ASCII. So as you can see here, it is printing out garbage as it has tried to convert. But if I download it in binary format, you can also see that it also prints out hello world as my terminal is able to interpret it. And I'm going to be running a job using these two files. I'm just going to be using bpx batch. What it's going to do is just cat out the file, so print it to the terminal, and it's going to be printing out to the sysout dataset from the job. So once I go ahead and I've run that job and I'm going to download the output. As you can see, whenever I download the output, I'm doing it in two different ways. The first one, I'm just downloading it per normal without the flags as one would normally do, and I'm moving it to a local directory called EBCDIC. And then I'm going to download I downloaded the output again. This time I've downloaded it in binary format. So I have moved that to the directory binary. just so I can do this comparison. So again, here is the job that I've run. And now when I read the output from these jobs, as you can see, whenever I use the normal output that we got from the first command, the command that's always existed for the CLI, you can read the first hello world, but the second message that it tried to print out is encoded and just appears to be garbage. But now, whenever I used the binary flag, you can now see the ASCII hello world. In a lot of cases, this isn't going to be useful. However, there are some jobs that will print out either information in ASCII, or in a lot of cases, there are jobs that can print out various different things in either machine code, compiled languages, and so forth, that you might want to download that output as binary. And now you're able to do that. What I haven't demonstrated here is that you're also able to download it in record format with -- record. That simply prepends the record length to each of the output that you download. And that is technically considered a different format from the ZOSMF perspective and can be uploaded just to make sure that the output is what you expected it to be. Again, this was a request from the Zowe Explorer, from a Explorer plugin group, and we've just implemented it in the CLI as part of implementing it in our APIs for that group. Are there any questions?
Andrew, I love it. I could have used this just a couple of weeks ago, actually. It was with the CSS server, and we had a mix of exactly the problem you described. We had a lot of a lot of EPCIDIC stuff being written, and there was something in UTF-8. It was to do with an HTTP header. And we ended up doing some weird and wonky things, like copying the file and doing an iconv and getting, and so then you convert all the bit you can read to unreadable. And then, yeah, so this would have saved us a ton of effort. Good job. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you. All right. If there are no more questions, I'm going to turn it over to Amber, unless any of the other demonstrators from earlier are now available.
No, let's move on to Amber for now.
All right.
Hello. I have less of a demo and more like a public service announcement. So I'm not quite sure if I should share my screen. Let me see. I might be able to share just the. I think I can share the issue that prompted the change. Are you guys seeing this?
Yes, we are.
Feature requests. Okay. Oops. I think I might be clicking into an image. I'm not quite sure how much you guys can see, but
okay, we see additional details text.
Additional details text.
We can see your GitHub CLI issue number 1459, and you're scrolling. Looks like it's closed, and you're scrolling around. It looks like something you've done some work to do with changing the default for the synchronicity of a job cancel.
Yep, exactly. So basically, some users were encountering CIM issues. They couldn't quite delete or cancel their jobs because they didn't have access to this resource manager that ZOSMF defaults to when running asynchronous jobs. So we've made the change to support synchronous jobs instead, or synchronous calls instead, so that these CIM issues wouldn't exist anymore. And it also means that our return codes changed from successfully issuing a request to cancel or delete a job to actually successfully canceling and deleting a job. So it's less ambiguous of a return code now. Not too much to demo here because I don't have the same issue on my system with the CIM request. But yes.
So Amber, that's amazing. So just fill me in on some of the history, because I've struggled with this for years, where in the Zowe Explorer, every time I try and issue any of the things you described, the stop or the cancel of a job, it just balks out on me with some bizarre sim error. And I had thought that in, as you said, 2.4, that had changed so that they didn't use sim. But are you saying that the Zowe Explorer didn't benefit from that because it was still omitting a header or adding a header, and now you're basically on all releases, we're basically, and 2.4 is the oldest in support, so now everything is synchronous and everything bypasses sim, the sim CIM server with this?
I think Zowe Explorer is leveraging what the CLI is implementing, which does include the synchronous, basically, or the asynchronous header. So unless I'm wrong, team, yeah, I'm pretty sure it might have been our header that was interfering with your.
Woohoo! Well, this is phenomenal news. I'm so pleased I joined this call. I'm going to download it and test it, and just whoever did this fix, just put it on LinkedIn, shout it from the highest mountain you can, because you're going to make a lot of customers very happy. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, that's pretty much all that I had to say. It's quite a quick change, but it's somewhat impactful.
All right, thank you. So let's see. I think, Sean, did you join us?
Andrea joined meanwhile, so we can.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm also here.
Yeah.
All right, okay, we'll go to Andrea. Andrea with the API ML, fixing the onboarding wizard. Are you speaking, Andrea? Double muted, maybe?
Maybe double muted. No, we don't hear you, Andrea. Okay, so let's move on to Sean, and we will try to help out.
Okay, sure. All right, I'll share my screen really quickly here. So what I wanted to show was a new feature of ZIS for dynamic linking of zowe-common-c functions. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, the way that our C code base is split up is that the ZSS repo is composed of both ZSS and ZIS. It's the repo that has the top level features that you can get your hands on in the form of servers. But it depends upon the zowe-common-c repo, which is a repo of libraries that can be used for those servers or many other things. And so there's some interesting stuff in zowe-common-c, such as the JSON library that makes it very easy to read and write and stream JSON in C, and Unix file utilities and networking. There's a lot of stuff in zowe-common-c. And the intention is we want functions in zowe-common-c to be used by as many people as possible. However, it is still EPL 2.0 licensed, so that can be a challenge to some commercial or closed source products. So the solution for most people has been to have some sort of dynamic linking such that there's no issue with licensing this you're not actually including any code in your source code. So if we look at this ZSS sample code, what you'll see in sample code is that C libraries in ZSS can be dynamically linked over to zowe-common-c functions by files such as this, which basically say, I want to use a function that originates in the ZSS binary. Then you can use a function without actually having that in your code, and so no licensing problems. We did not previously have this feature in ZIS code. So if you had a ZIS plugin instead of a ZSS plugin, such a feature was not possible. But in the latest release of Zowe, there is now a plugin to ZIS that comes pre-bundled, pre-installed, and it is, for lack of a better term, the ZIS dynamic plugin. It allows you in your ZIS plugin to dynamically link to zowe-common-c functions. So you can see in this file here, there's this file called zis-stubs.h, and this has all of the references to zowe-common-c functions present in the ZIS runtime that we thought would be useful to an end user. So there's not much to look at here because it's, at the end of the day, just doing dynamic linking in C code. But the end user value is, of course, that if you want to write a powerful ZIS plugin and previously were unable to use zowe-common-c functions due to licensing, this should no longer be a limitation. So for more information, if you're trying to use this and you're unsure of how, it's a great time to check out the ZOS squad calls on Wednesday because they'll give a lot of technical expertise into this. But yeah, that's it. So any questions? Okay, then I'll hand it back to you, Nick.
All right, thanks, Sean. Okay, so let's see, moving down, did we get Andrea back?
Jakob, did we get Andrea back?
No, it doesn't work for him. So I will, in the end, share it instead of him, but I need to prepare.
Okay, all right, then moving down, do we have Trey?
Yep. Hello.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Trey Yelovich, a member of the Zowe Explorer squad, and today I'm going to demonstrate some changes with Unix system services functionality in Zowe Explorer version 2.7. So let me just share my screen here real quick. All right, can everyone see my screen?
Yes.
Great. So for context, on the left is a copy of Visual Studio Code with the last minor version of Zowe Explorer, version 2.6. And on the right is a copy of Visual Studio Code with the latest Zowe Explorer, version 2.7. So to start off, multiple optimizations were introduced to improve end user experience when operating with Unix system services. Part of these optimizations include reduced pop-ups and UI dialogues when listing and opening USS files and folders. Let's first observe version 2.6's behavior when listing and opening USS files. So I'm going to search for a directory within USS. And as you can see, periodically in the bottom right corner, a dialog will appear that says, Get USS file list command submitted. This also appears when a user goes to click on a file to open it. This has been minimized in version 2.7, which I will now demonstrate. Instead of the dialog boxes that appeared in the bottom right, there is now a minimal progress bar that appears at the top of the Unix System Services panel. In addition, when opening a file, the UI dialog has now been replaced with a status bar message at the bottom here beside the live share icon. All right, and these changes were made to hopefully minimize and reduce the amount of interaction between Zowe Explorer and the user when navigating through USS. Should hopefully be a smoother experience. Next, I will demonstrate another enhancement that allows the user to paste files and folders in the top level of a USS session. First, I'll go back to the panel here on the left with version 2.6, just to demonstrate that when a user tries to right-click on the top level of a USS tree, there is no option to paste any files. However, this has been introduced with Zowe Explorer version 2.7. So I have a file here that I'm going to try to paste into the top level. If I click copy, I can now right-click on the top level and select paste. As you can see, the file has been pasted in the top level in the directory that I have filtered. Now I will demonstrate some performance improvements and UI adjustments for the copy-paste functionality. I have a folder here with multiple directories, each containing different size files, 16 kilobytes, 64 kilobytes, 256 kilobytes, 1 megabyte, and 4 megabytes respectively. And these are in both versions of Zowe Explorer here. All right, so I'm going to select these directories in version 2.6 and demonstrate the copying and paste process. So if I select these directories and click copy, you can see that it takes a while to download all of the copied files that were selected. And now that the copying operation is completed, I can go and paste it in this directory. And as you can see, there's quite a delay in version 2.6. This has been reduced in version 2.7. So if I go to select these same directories and copy them, you can see that the copying has already completed. And now I can go to paste these. And these directories have already been pasted, a much shorter duration. In addition, as part of these enhancements and improvements, we've also added FTP support for copying and pasting, which I will now demonstrate here in version 2.7. Okay, so I will just make a quick directory to demonstrate. Okay, so now I will go to paste these same directories within the FTP test folder. And previously, this functionality was not working for the FTP extension, but has now been implemented. So a user can copy and then paste files and folders just as they were with a ZOSMF or any other profile. And with that, those are the improvements that I wanted to address as part of this demo. Thank you. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have one quick quick one. That was awesome, by the way. I love the way you did it side to side with a virtual box for the 2.6 and your desktop for the 2.7. That's classy. For the copy and paste, do you actually download the files from USS to the laptop and then push them back, or is that done with some kind of server-side sort of CP command? So it's all done. So as it scales up in terms of file size, there's no performance degradation.
Sure. So with version 2.6, we were previously downloading the files and folders that were selected and copied during that copy operation. And that's why you saw that the copy took significantly longer in the previous version. However, in the newest version, dependent on where the user's trying to copy files and paste from, we can just grab the selection of files and folders that were copied. And then if they are on the same session, we can use APIs on ZOSMF in order to copy directly on that LPAR and not have to actually download and upload those files again. However, if a user is going from one LPAR to another, or if they're to copy from, say, an FTP session to a ZOSMF session, then it will still download those files and upload them, as that is a necessary requirement due to the limitations of not being able to copy and paste across LPARs.
Oh, that is awesome. Thanks. So that's cleared up two things. First of all, because I wasn't sure if your performance were improvements just because you took away all of those kind of extra, you had all those pop-ups saying copying one, and I thought perhaps that was incurring some effort, but you're actually doing server-side to copy. And I didn't know you could copy from one profile to the other, which is phenomenal, one LPAR, and that you can go from ZOSMF to FTP. Wow, phenomenal. Good job.
Thank you. All right, are there any other questions? All right, if there are no other questions, then I will pass it back to Nick. Thanks, everyone.
Okay, all right, let's see. The next person then would be Timothy J on the Explorer.
All right, thanks, Nick. I think I need permission to share my screen.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now.
Yes.
So today I'm going to demonstrate some issues that we fixed in Zowe Explorer 2.7 to reduce the risk of data corruption. And for context, as most of you are probably aware, Zowe Explorer allows you to edit datasets on the mainframe in Visual Studio Code, as well as a USS file, but I'll focus on datasets for the purpose of this demo. And behind the scenes, when you open a dataset in Zowe Explorer, it is downloaded from the mainframe to a temporary folder on your local disk. And then when you save changes to that dataset, VS Code is going to first save the changes to that local file on disk, and then Zowe Explorer will be triggered to upload your changes in the file up to the mainframe. So I'm going to show 3 issues that we addressed, and I have a setup similar to what Trey did. On the left, I have Zowe Explorer 2.6 to show the old behavior, and then on the right, I have a version 2.7, the latest one, to show the current behavior. And so first, I'm going to open a dataset in both windows. And looks like that one does not have any contents. Oh, there we go. It took a while for it to download. So first, I will simulate what happens if you lose connection to the mainframe. So I have a script here, a little helper script that has effectively disabled my connection. And if I now make edits to these files, you can see that the icon here on this editor tab has changed from an X or from a close button to a dot, which indicates that I have unsaved changes. And now if I press Control S to save the file, you can see I get an error because I don't have a mainframe connection. But also the file appears to have saved successfully because now I see an X here again. And so it looks like my change is saved, even though they weren't actually uploaded to the mainframe. Now, to compare with that, the behavior in a 2.7, if I do the same thing on the right, make a change to this file, Control S to save, and I get an error again, the same error, or essentially the same, the text is actually duplicated, and we'll look into that and fix that for the next release. But it's effectively the same error. And you can see that now I still have a dot, which is more accurately indicating that the changes have not actually been saved on the mainframe side. And so you might think that this dot indicator just seems like a small thing that isn't very important. But if I restore my mainframe connection, you'll see why it matters. So now I have the mainframe connection back again. And if I right-click on my member name here in Zowe Explorer, and I try to pull the latest contents from the mainframe, you'll see that it just overwrote all my local contents, and I lost the edits that I had made. If I do the same thing on the right in version 2.7, we see that it recognizes a conflict. It asked if I want to save the latest changes that I've made, and if I answer yes, I do, it's going to trigger conflict resolution, and I can open a diff which will show me here are the contents on the mainframe, here were the changes I had made locally. And then if I wish, I can just tell it, yes, I want to overwrite with those changes.
Mhm.
A second issue I want to show is what happens when you exit VS Code while a dataset is in the middle of being uploaded. And so in order to show that, I'll simulate a slow connection to the mainframe. So now my connection is throttled. And just to demonstrate how that will behave, if I make an edit here and save the file, notice here at the bottom, the progress indicator for saving dataset, and that took several seconds, whereas before it was almost instantaneous. And so now what I'm going to do is make another edit to the file. I'll add the number 5 and keep an eye down there on the status bar where that progress indicator was. So I'm going to Control S to save the file, but then before it has an opportunity to finish, I'm going to quickly exit VS Code. So Control S, saving, and I've closed it before it had an opportunity to finish. And I'll do the same thing here on the right, make an edit, save. While it is still in progress, I will now close it. And then I'll reset the mainframe connection back to normal speed and reopen my VS Code windows. Now I have to reopen my dataset, but we can see what happened. So on the left in the old version in 2.6, even though I had added the number 5 on the end, that edit was just completely lost.
Okay.
If I look on the right, you can see that the 5 was actually saved to the file before VS Code exited. And currently, there is a 5-second threshold when VS Code exits. It's a limitation enforced by VS Code itself to prevent it from hanging, so we can't work around that. And that means that if your upload is extremely slow and would take longer than 5 seconds, it may still fail to finish uploading. However, even in that case, we will have the best possible behavior where we'll keep a local copy of your changes in the temporary folder as a backup. So you may have noticed, like when I first reopened VS Code, there was a red X icon showing that the file no longer existed on my local disk. But in the event that the upload took so long when VS Code closed that it failed to upload, I still would have had a local copy. And so I would at least have that as a backup.
Okay.
And then the third issue I wanted to show is what happens if the dataset that you're editing has been deleted or renamed. So this is something that in Zowe Explorer we already handled for sequential data sets, but we enhanced to handle this scenario for partition data sets as well, like the one that I am currently editing. So I'm going to run a CLI command, or like run. I just effectively issued a Zowe CLI command that has deleted that data set. However, I still have it open in VS Code since I already downloaded it. And so now, if I try to make an edit and save those changes, I do get an error message, but it's not especially user-friendly. I have to expand it and then find the cause that the dataset was not found. If I do the same thing on the right in the latest version, I get a more user-friendly error message explaining that the dataset may have been deleted or renamed on the mainframe.
Mm-hmm.
So that's all for my demo. If you want to get these fixes that I've shown in 2.7, make sure that you've updated Zowe Explorer to the latest version. And chances are you may already have the update because VS Code by default will automatically update extensions for you. But yeah, that was all for my demo. Are there any questions?
Hey, Timothy, question on the file save close before finishing the save, the one that you demoed just before this last one.
Mm-hmm.
The question was related to, let's say that you were in a situation, I realize that I think you had said this isn't implemented yet, but it's planned. Let's say you were in a situation where you had a large file and it was not able to save, and you had said there would be a copy saved local. Would the user be informed that that actually happened when they came back in? Or would they just figure it out when they realized that the info wasn't there? Or maybe what you're saying is it would be there. Go ahead, sorry.
So when they come back into VS Code, they should see the file still open as a tab, like as like an editor tab here. However, it is a good question because they might not be aware that the changes did not upload successfully. Like even though the fact that the temporary file still exists on their system, that does mean that it failed to upload. They might not be aware of that. So that would definitely be an enhancement that we could consider to show a little pop-up saying like, this data set failed to save before exit. Would you like to try and save it now?
Perfect. That was my question. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hey Tim, that was awesome. I thought when you started your demo showing a Rex member with Hello World, I thought you were going to execute it and say run as Rex, which I know isn't an existing enhancement. But my birthday's in September, so if you want to put that in your PI for September, that would be a wonderful birthday present. Because
we'll keep that in mind.
I'm just messing with you. So everybody loves, so many customers love the ability to right mouse click on a JCL member and do submit as job. A lot of customers have asked for the ability to run Rex directly. So you could picture a scenario where you right mouse click that Rex member and you just run it as a Rex command. You would have to know the TSO session to run it and do an exec Rex. Another related but unrelated, and I'm going off topic here, is a lot of people love having shell script in Unix system services view and just might want to be able to right mouse click that and just say, you know what, just run that shell script because I can see it, which you can do by dropping to a terminal, but you have to then perhaps use the CLI command to run it and work out where your path is. Anyway, but yeah, great job. We can talk offline about running Rex execs directly.
Sounds good. Yeah, those would definitely be some cool enhancements because I suppose for some things, like for COBOL or for assembler, there's often additional steps involved to like actually compile them before you can run them. But Rex or shell scripts seem like things that would be fairly easy to support running directly.
Yeah. Cool. Good job.
All right. Thank you, Timothy. The next presenter should be Fernando on the Explorer.
Hey, yep, I'm here. Can I get co-host maybe?
I thought you had it. Oh, okay. Let me do right now.
Thank you, thank you. Let me share. All right, theoretically, you should all be seeing my screen now, right?
Yes.
There we go. So around the enhancements that I wanted to sort of demonstrate here, it definitely started by someone, another team member that sort of moved on to other projects here on the squad, but quickly definitely introduced a lot of great functionality around multi-select. And the one particular functionality that I want to introduce you guys is to the multi-select of the copy operation with multiple data sets, right? Before you kind of had to sort of either do them one by one, or the user experience was not like as nice. But now, for example, say that I have this contents, right? Just some generic data sets. I'm just gonna select them all, right? All three selected, just gonna say, hey, I just want to copy them, right? And it's basically gonna prompt me one by one, what's the new name of the data set that I want to create, right? And it will sort of process it as an allocate like, and of course, going to give me the contents of each one of those, right? So, yeah, you're going to start seeing them pop up here, right? So it was basically a one-to-one copy of this one, and the sequential 2, sequential 3, or 0, 1, and 2. So the only limitation, I believe, is to just you're not able to perform that copy operation between multiple or different types of data sets. It will sort of complain, hey, can I perform that at this time because different types? But you can perform that on partition data sets as well, right? Let me do the multi-select because that's sort of the purpose of the demo. Quickly remove those three, just remove the clutter. There we go. Right. I can do the same here. Copy and go one by one, right? Oops. Again, all the same information, and just to prove, right, it should be an allocate like. Let me just make sure that I have this one selected. Show attributes for the first one here, and I'm going to do show attributes for the second one, right? My new and my old, they should be about the same except for a few caveats, right? Block size being one of them, but for the most part, record format, it should all be fairly equal, right? Right, and last but not least, I kind of want to sort of showcase what happens if you have certain conflicts, right? Say that you were copying a data set that already existed. Oops, I deleted the one that I didn't want to. That's right. I can just rename this one. Say that I'm going to copy this contents, right, to the sequential 0, 0. It's definitely going to prompt me, hey, the data set already exists. Do you want to replace it? Sure. So I'm just going to make sure this is definitely from cache, right? So if I just pull from mainframe, that's the latest contents. It definitely replaced it, right? At least it warned me. Definitely it's not going to do it on its own. Same thing happens for partition data sets. Say that you have members that may have the same name or not. So I'm going to do a copy here. I'm going to go from data set 1 to 0, right? There's no collision in members, but it definitely is going to notice that the data set exists. Just, do you want to merge the members, right? It's going to definitely prompt you for that while replacing any existing ones. Sure, right? So we should see a new member with the contents of the like coming from PDS1, right? And this is for PDS0. And here, just to showcase the example of a conflict, whoops. I'm just going to copy that one into 0 again. And what that's going to, again, it's going to try to merge and replace anything that already exists. So this new member came from PDS2. We did not touch the contents of PDS0 or member 0. But here, again, pull from mainframe, that's all cached. There we go. It did override member 01. That is it for the copy paste functionality. If there are any questions, happy to answer them. if not, I want to sort of quickly move on to the next bullet point in my presentation, which is around our position, or just stating, hey, because there were multiple requests of people asking for biodata support, but bidirectional character support. And if you do a quick Google search, right, you're definitely going to find a few hits on what our stance is. The first link basically just to our Zowe docs, right? You have information, hey, we're somewhat limited by what VS Code itself can support. We definitely link you where most of the conversation is happening around that. And we also added that same statement, the same disclosure, right, in sort of a small no niche section, just for people that are aware that we have that limitation. But yeah, that's about it.
That's great, Fernando. Thank you.
Sure thing. And back to you, Nick.
All right, thank you, Fernando. All right, I see that Christina M was going to present. I don't know if she's on.
Oh, I can try to present. Should be
okay. She was going to do the new Jazz job search experience.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, let me share my screen again. All right. So for job searching, let me see. I do already have a couple searches here, right? Let me see if I can find a quick one. I think I already was looking into. There you go. So previously, how the search used to work, right? After you search for a data set, this is just a GIF, right, from our current documentation. You notice in the profile, you didn't have any information for what you were searching before, right? And now, like, you do have this very explicit description of right next to the profile saying, hey, this is what you were searching for. This is basically your filters, right? You're looking for any owner with that prefix, with this status, right? And before, right, when you were to be searching for something, you were sort of prompted by sequence, right? Like just one, so first and second, you were first asked by owner and then prefix. We did not have the status search or filter criteria for a little while. And if we I think introduced it in 2.5 around that time, but it was not as nice because it was so much sequential, right? But now you can like have a filter and sort of construct it like step by step, kind of just modify the things you want, and it should sort of be a little nicer, right? You can definitely sort of save those, and let me cancel out of here. You can save them as favorites, and they should show up. There we go. Yeah, so they should show up here, and with the nice filtering, right? All that applied. You can also do that. Let me just modify the same search. You can also modify it to say filter by status active, because we saw, right, a couple more jobs here. Yep, just going to submit. See, all I did was just clicking around, right? It did filter it, and I'm going to add that to the favorites. Definitely going to add a new entry here. I can click it, and again, same sort of information filtered, and it's definitely way clearer to the user, right, as to what the operation is performing, what the filter is doing, right? And the current filters that might be applied depending on your profile. So it sort of remembers the context, right? I was searching before the CWV prefix on any status, right? I can quickly go back in. Oh, sure, just want to switch something here quickly. Yeah, just show me the active ones, right? Pretty nice experience around the job searching implementation, which initially started with Christina and Trey in combination there. But yeah, that is it, I think, for the demo. Any questions, any thoughts?
I love it. I stumbled across that by accident just because I updated my Zowe Explorer. So it took me about 3 or 4 seconds to realize what the change was. And now it's really, really good. I didn't realize you could add them to the favorites, because that was my one thing, is that sometimes it can be a little tricky to set all 3 up, but then having them to the favorite is phenomenal. Is there a limit to the number of favorites? I know you only have 5 in the previous history, but
I believe that's still the case. I'm not gonna lie. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah. One other quick thing, I'd be interested to hear other people's feedback. The vertical bar for me with my kind of math my brain on is like an or symbol, and they're actually anded together, aren't they? So, but I understand why that's the UI.
They are, yeah. That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah. No worries. Maybe a different symbol, or maybe I'm the only person that where that kind of grates on me. Oh wait, no worries. Good job.
I see what you're saying, Joe. When you say the vertical bar, that's in the filter itself. So prefix Zowe asterisk and status active.
Yeah, but that might look more awkward. So who knows? Yeah.
No. I'm saying that's how one would read it.
Yeah. Thanks,
okay.
Rose. Yeah.
You could also sort of consider that as being the union of them, right? Depending on the context, right? Some pseudo languages, they definitely used the single bar instead of the double bar to indicate, like in beta operations, you sort of concatenate or sort of add them or XOR them together, right? And that's how you get the final result. So if you think of this as bits and whatnot, like you could see them being the single bar being an addition instead of ORs, right?
Yeah, it's such a great feature. Yeah, don't worry about my critique. Yeah, it's really, really good piece of functionality. Well, you guys have knocked it out of the park today, the Zowe Explorer squad. You really, and the CLI and everybody else as well. Phenomenal.
I appreciate the feedback. And sorry, the demo was kind of rough, but yeah, cool. Back to you, Nick.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, Nick, by the way, I was able to log in, so I can present my, like the ID service features.
Okay, I will make you co-host. Go ahead.
Thank you. So, just a second. Stop. Okay. I hope you can see my screen.
Yes.
Okay. So you should be able to see Google, right? Chrome.
API mediation layers.
Okay. Okay, perfect. So yeah, that's the one feature we worked on is like a capability to hide like sensitive information related to a service, which is onboarding to API mediation layer. And it can be done by providing like these metadata, like this configuration in the Zowe YAML. Basically, currently the only information that shows some sensitive info, sensitive value is the base URL because it contains host name, and maybe the service owner doesn't want to disclose this kind of information. So you can basically provide this API, like this catalog like property as part of the Zowe YAML, and you can like enable this service info, set it to true, and basically the result is that all the services which are onboarded to API mediation layer won't contain any instance URL. As you can see here, it's basically empty field. In the future, if there will be more like information that we will add that contains some sensitive, I don't know, host name or whatever, they can be hidden as well. So this was the first thing that I wanted to showcase. And the second thing, which was pretty like critical fix, was basically there was some few like people, customers that were facing issue with the static onboarding method in the wizard. Basically, the issue was that it was not creating properly the resulting YAML file. Basically, it was somehow stripping this block here, these catalog UI tiles, in case you would create like new service under existing tile. So this was the only way we could reproduce the issue. So we fixed this problem, and basically I was able to onboard like a sample service here by using basically this YAML that I can even import. This one, and basically it was like just generating the correct YAML and automatically onboard the service into API mediation layer. So
I've been only seeing the one screen. Have you been changing screens?
It was Google Chrome.
No, I still see just the API mediation layer.
The browser. Okay, yeah, it was basically it, but I was also switching to the documentation here.
Yeah.
Now I am sharing like the GitHub.
No,
we are seeing just the gateway homepage.
Right in the local host. If that helps.
All right.
Maybe
Okay. Let me switch. Maybe it was. So. Okay. Yes. Sorry, it was wrong. So can you see now?
Yes, we see API catalog.
Perfect. Sorry for the mistake. So yeah, basically this was the documentation related to the service info I was talking about. It's like basically you can provide this additional information here, and you can hide those sensitive. We can hide basically the instance-based URL from the catalog. So all the services will have this information hidden, and it can be provided, of course, in the Zowe YAML. And this was the defect I was talking about the wizard like static onboarding. It was not generating the correct YAML. It was basically removing this part, which is like critical. And then here is the result. I was able to generate a sample service by using the wizard functionality. And this is like the resulting Swagger. And also we improved the login messages. So in case of some failure during the wizard static onboarding, some log message will be displayed both on the UI side and on the let's say Zowe logs. So the user can have better understanding what was happening, why it was failing. And yeah, that's basically it. And you can see here that that the instance URL here is blank because we were hiding this information. So all the services will have this information hidden. And in future, if we will have more information to hide, we can add this in the configuration. And that's basically it. Do you have any question? So if not, I will get it back to Nick.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see. We have another presenter, someone from the IntelliJ plugin. There's Vladislav, but I don't know if he's on. I don't see him.
No.
Okay, all right, we'll skip him then. And then looks like we have Joe W. Troubleshooting.
Oh yeah, sure. Hi. If there's a bit of downtime, I'm happy to be the. Let me grab the screen. I just wanted to show something that I know Sam and the Doc Squad put in recently. Folks haven't seen it before. So let me hit start share and hopefully. Okay, you can see my screen?
Yes. Zowe
Excellent.
Docs.
Excellent. So I've been fortunate to have some of the Doc team. They're not able to join this call. They're based in CSL. In a number of locations, Shanghai and Beijing and stuff. CSL to China. Anyway, so and they've been actually helping out on some customer calls, sort of sitting side by side when we've been debugging some issues. And one of the techniques that we showed a customer recently was, here's an example in in our favorite product here with the vertical bars, so Zowe Explorer. Thanks, Fernando and team, for doing that wonderful enhancement. Where, for example, you might start here, and customers do love this, even folks who've grown up with STSF. This is really lovely, being able to scroll right and scroll left and open a large log. And for example, if this I might be sitting down with a customer and I might hit error, and where am I? And I'm just going to go back, down, and we're debugging it, and we come across an error code. And here's an error code, ZWESY, and I'm going to copy that into the clipboard. And what we showed in front of the customer, and then the customer said, where is that documented? And then the doc squad literally added it into the documentation. And the technique that we used was we basically pick up the error message. Let me go back one more. I'm going to jump to the end of the movie here. And we go github.com/Zowe. And one of the nice things about Zowe being open source is all of our source is there. So if anybody goes there and types in the error message and hits in this organization, you'll see all occurrences of anything that's happening to do with Zowe's logs, not just in any issues that other customers might have opened that might be related to this, how they've been involved, all the dialogue. We can see some great ones at Sean's handle there. Reduce, eliminate. We can see the code, which is very useful. With some customers, sometimes you can see the code and then actually work out if you're skilled in reading Node or Java or even C, whatever the language is. So what they've gone and done is, in the troubleshooting guide, they've actually put this. They've actually said to start troubleshooting, there's a little animated GIF. They said the first thing you can do is type an error message directly into the doc. And they say 2.6, it was actually introduced in 2.6, but I didn't think it was system demoed there. And then they've added a little GIF, and I'll see if I can, there we go. And they show exactly the technique that I just showed there, which is that you can punch out an error code. That's a different one that they're using in the little animated GIF, and you can navigate the repo. And they've added that. That's all I wanted to showcase what the doc squad had done. That's all, Nick. Any questions, or was I entirely on mute sharing a strong screen, which wouldn't be the first time?
No, you weren't on mute.
Thank you, Jakob.
Okay, all right. I think that was it for the agenda. Is there anything I missed, or is there anything anybody would like to present?
Sorry. Yeah, sorry, real quick, if we could go back to the IntelliJ, I don't mind sharing my screen for a second and sort of speaking through some of the enhancements that Ulat shared on the previous DSC call.
Okay, go ahead.
Should only take about 3 to 5 minutes, depending on the conversation that it spawns. Let me see. This should be the right screen. Are you seeing using IntelliJ documentation?
Yes.
All right. So in the previous DSC call last Thursday, this past Thursday, they shared that a lot of the great functionality that is ready for the V1 LTS version of the IntelliJ extension. Among the functionality that they shared, and it is on the agenda here, there was some TSO CLI functionality, some enhancements to the Explorer changes, to the Jest Explorer changes, right? Encoding and permissions in general. They do have a lot of great documentation, I believe. I'm still using the preview, but this should be, if not already, beyond the 2.7 release. Again, I'm just going to use the preview. So that's the latest I could find right now. Regarding the TSO CLI functionality, this is just a quick GIF. We're going to sort of let it play out, right? Basically, it sort of initializing a connection to TSO and providing you with the terminal down here at the bottom, right? When you can just issue any TSO commands, or Rex commands, right? It also, you can execute Rex directly in here, right? Somewhat in context, without having to leave the application or just go right click in somewhere else, right? Fully qualify it. There we go. Enter your name, and it's just going to go through and say hello demo. The second being some of the Jest functionality that was improved. A lot of the previous provided functionality by the IntelliJ extension was like purging jobs, and the user experience around it was definitely improved before the V1 LCS release. Definitely check that out once the documentation is available. The other two, very, very, very important, and I think super future-looking enhancements, because in Zowe Explorer for VS Code, we also wanted to do that. It's around encoding. Let me see if this is the right GIF. Please be the right GIF. Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So Chmod, basically running a Chmod operation, just changing the USS file permissions. You can somewhat do it interactively now. And I believe this is also showing the encoding, whether you have it be ABCDIC, no, sorry, not ABCDIC, ISO, some of the default numbers. I don't remember the number itself, but here you can also notice that how he's just changing the file permissions of that one file, whether he wants it to be read, write, and execute right within the UI. Also changing the encoding here, right? And it will sort of prompt you for reloading, see how some non-printable characters will be changing here, not in the UI. There we go. Yeah, that I believe is it for the IntelliJ features. Yeah, you can also convert it or just do it on the view. And can we see again the Chmod operation? I believe it was at the beginning of the GIF. Yeah, there we go. Or not. All right. Yeah, that's basically it for the demonstration. I was hoping to see there we go. Yes. Owner, group, all, read, write, and with all the different combinations, right? Yeah, pretty cool enhancements. Definitely want to see this eventually in Zowe Explorer for VS Code. And any comments, questions?
Yeah, Fernando, that was amazing. I'm curious. I need to find out how they've done this, because the Chmod isn't available on the ZOSMF REST API, right? So they would have to open an SSH session or something to do that?
I believe so, yeah.
So
it's pretty
issue
cool,
the command. It's very cool. And then the Rex exec, again, it is on the ZOSMF REST API, but you need to know the account number.
Correct.
And I'm curious. Yeah, I'd
that's
love
why
to see.
we have initialization here, like creating the account.
You do. You have it on the profile, which is which brings me to a point that I've thought, wouldn't it be lovely on a ZOSMF profile to have default account without having to create a TSA profile? Because most of the time that's all you need. You don't need to override everything else, like the initial proc and the region mem size and stuff. You know, there's like 6 or 7 arguments on a TSA profile, because then you could do things. Yeah, you can see where we're going with this. We're both sort of thinking along the same lines, because the usability enhancement to be able to just pop in that Rex and directly and do the Chmod, and then you can start doing tags and execute, and yeah, phenomenal, lovely. Wow.
But yeah, if you definitely want to see Oulette's demo, feel free to check out the previous TSC, this past Thursday's TSC call.
Yeah, I will. Yeah, sorry, I was traveling and things. I missed it all. Wow, brilliant job, excellent. It's given the Zowe Explorer VS Code team a new bar to jump over, right?
That's right.
We're catching you up, and now they've just picked you. Well, not quite. I mean that in a good way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Thank you. All right, I think that was it. Any other comments, questions? Again, my knowledge is definitely severely limited, but happy to try to answer them here or offline for sure. If not, back to you, Nick.
All right, I think that's it. Any other closing comments? All right, then. Thanks everyone for joining, and have a nice day.
Thanks.
Great job to all. Thank you.
Thanks everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.